She's back together, cured. Let's start reassembly. We happen to take the carb base off, so you know what? This gets back to the point a while back about putting the tank on first. I think I'm going to put the tank on first. Pause. So this tank is kind of messed up. $4mm Allen in here to pull this AV mount out. This is screwed up. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there, but I don't want it. New AV mount. Well, it's not new, it's used, but whatever. Go on here. Just screws right in. And this rectangular piece needs to be kind of up and down. Anyway, it's pretty easy to see. Does not need to be super tight. I don't like this fuel line. I could probably reuse it. I don't think it was the downfall of the saw. So you could probably reuse that, but I'm really not trusting that. Oh. That's good. What happened to the filter? Okay. New Husky pigtail fuel line. Now the issue with using any other kind of line is there's one issue, and that's that external diameter. This Husky line is 7/32, and if you use anything else, it's probably not 7/32. It's probably closer to 1/4 inch, which actually is too big. Go inside here, grab it, pull through. You need to have the external diameter be just the right size so that you get a proper seal at the tank. There's no other seal portion other than that. Okay, and the fuel filter, which is kind of a pain to stick on because they don't make this rubber line really appropriately sized. A little warmer. Let's try that. Once it goes on a little bit, keep getting it on there. Like I said, they could have made it 1/4 inch and everything would be fine, but instead they had to use proprietary line. There you go. Now it's on. Pigtails in. Here's hoping the tank doesn't leak. One last thing to make this tank complete. This does work, but we have an issue here with the tank vent. The tank vent is missing a piece. The little disc comes right out. Don't need that anymore. Then what we can do is take the new tank vent, by the way, these new tank vents, $10 for this little piece. So once this is installed, you don't want to lose it We're going to show you how to not lose it. Alright, so it's in there. By the way, Mastermind does have a technique for gutting the tank vent so you can actually flow more fuel. For this application, I don't think we need to do that, but that is available, just so everybody knows. So one thing you can do, if you want to make sure that this doesn't come out, just take your soldering iron and melt it just a little bit to the tank itself. That's it. And now those two pieces will be less likely to move. Now we can add this to the saw. Tank goes on just like that. First bolt goes on with a chain catcher. Right there. Next is this bolt over here. Good. Those AV mounts are in the right spot. Because there really isn't any other linkage here, I can just put the carb base down at this point. No other wires or linkages or anything like that go here. 4 screws, coarse thread. Do you need Loctite? Probably not, but whatever. One, 2, 3, 4. Now we can worry about the rubber mounts. One rubber mount goes there. The other one we probably pulled the screw out, so let's have a look at that. For this one I like to put the rubber in first. That rubber is a little worse for wear. Let's see if I got a new one. Toss. Nicer piece here. This bolt. A little blue Loctite on here too. Let's rebuild this whole side while we've got it here. Why not? Didn't see any specific issue with the oiler, so I'll leave it as is. Run that in there. A little blue Loctite on that. Short bolt, coarse thread. We do need the tensioner. Tensioner seems to be in fine shape. Those bolts are all tight. So now I can put this down. 2 more bolts. Short bolt, coarse thread. Same here. So we have a oiler pinion, which seems to be in fine shape. And we have the needle bearing. And we have rim drive, and this does seem to be in fine shape, so I won't mess with that too much. Goes down there. Okay, the clutch. Okay, and And I won't mess with the clutch or try to tighten it too much right now. It'll self-tighten anyway. So one thing that I notice right off the bat is I still got these little tabs sticking up here, the paper tabs. So we've got to get rid of those. And these are in sensitive spots, so you have to cut them flush. Can you see that? You have to cut it flush. If you somehow cut it below the level, it will never seal. Those tabs are now trimmed. Let's see if we can get our piston on. Needle bearing. First pin. You know what? Let's just do a mock-up here before we go for it. Let's look at what we did to the cylinder. Gonna get some pictures of this before I put the whole thing down, but the cylinder is ground and ready to go. Oh, nice and smooth. So without putting the ring in, let's put this down. Let's do a gasket. Couple of cylinder head bolts. Check the mock-up here. Okay. Ooh, check our clearances. Look at that. It rubs right here on the cylinder. It's a good thing that I have to do mock-ups. By the time you torque that down, it's really rubbing. Let's see. So right here I gotta just file that down a shade. It'll be fine. Check the squish. So we end up at 18 thousandths. That's kind of tight, but that'll be fine. Make some good compression. Check on the other side. Make sure it's not any tighter. Yeah, about 18 thousandths. So that should work. With different gaskets, you can end up with different thicknesses, and so it doesn't need to be that tight, but really no harm if it is. Let's trim a little bit off there. I also have to make sure that this isn't actually hitting the case itself, and it's not. So now we have to finish getting the cylinder ready for putting it down. So we'll make the clearance. And we have to accessorize it. We're going to get the piston ready. All that stuff. So So let's attach the piston permanently to the wheel here. Now these are Meteor's circlips. A lot of guys like the OEM, so I'm going to go with OEM. Circlips take practice. Don't worry about it if you don't get it the first try. Rotate it around. There we go. It's got to spin freely. Okay. Also, per usual, the arrow is in the direction of the exhaust. Points out the exhaust. If you put the arrow the other direction and put the ring in the other direction, you'll hook the ring and you'll lose the piston cylinder. The whole thing will just eat itself. Seen it happen. Don't do that. Second circlip going in. Again, they should rotate freely and be in the groove. Ring goes on. There's a retaining pin for the ring, and make sure the ring doesn't go this way. Ring is on. Just going to use a file. You can actually see where that's too high. Anyway. It's pretty thick there, so no danger of going through. Do. We need a decompression valve. We need an AV mount. AV mount. Blue Loctite. Thread it down. It's just easier to do this now than it is to do it later. Good. Decompression valve. Get screwed in here. Screwed in with a scratch. Makes it easy. Now the intake. Brand new boot. Thank you to Bob from Ashokan Turf and Timber. And this nipple is not ripped. Good. You can check and make sure that this is patent by blowing stuff through it. But we're patent. It's good. This just goes through here. That sits down nicely there. Now you've got this piece that this will fold in and on and through. You really don't want to mess up these rubber boots. These are not cheap. They really last a long time. I really don't see too many that are messed up, but apparently it is possible to mess these up. Okay, bring it on through, just like that. The impulse line will come through here. forget your crib. Some guys do eliminate that, but I'll leave it. Now, on these clamps, the best thing to do with a clamp like this is to actually bevel this so that it slides. When you go to clamp it, it slides easier. The best way to do that is with the grinder, just like this. That'll slide easier. These metal clamps come with these ring things that go like that. And then you can put it on. But before we do that, a little bit of 518 here. Not much. You don't need a lot. Just make sure the surface is damp. Line them up. Put them together. Don't force it. That nipple either goes in or it don't. That's seated. Now, the best way to clamp this is with a set of lineman's pliers, big pliers. You gotta line them up. Dink. And it grabs, and it's a devil when it grabs. Now this metal piece comes off, and you can look at it and decide whether it's grabbed well enough or not for you. But one thing that I do is I take and I'll cinch this down just a little bit. So just to make sure this is cinched just the way I want it, you can use some channel locks. And make sure indeed that devil is grabbed. So now we're ready to put it down. Let's do it. So Loctite for the cylinder head bolts. I use blue Loctite for these. More Loctite 518 on the gasket. And for the gaskets, do you really need sealer like this? Probably not. So on the 350s, you have to make sure that the impulse tract is clear. And here we know that we've got the good impulse tract here. There's a notch made there, and I know by checking the gasket that it does line up, and then the gasket does line up with the hole in the cylinder here, so we will have a good impulse there. So that's good. Our circlips are down. We're gooped up. Our intake is attached. As long as the intake is attached, you're basically good to go. If the intake is not attached, you're not going to get it attached later. It's not happening. So compress the ring with your fingers. Nice and easy on down. And you're going to want to use your cylinder head bolts to guide it down. A little bit of grease on the tip here definitely helps grab these. I like to get the flywheel side, intake side first. It seems to be easiest. Do not want it tight, not yet. Low torque. Now, the hard one sometimes is the one by the AV mount here. Sometimes it's impossible. Tight. 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 You have all 4 cylinder head bolts tight. Again, flywheel. Now what I usually do is so I've checked with some Sharpie here, and this is no longer rubbing. While we're at it, we might as well put the flywheel down. Those work nicely. Washer. Blue Loctite again. Nut. You need a piston stop, rope. For these little guys, I use 13 foot-pounds. If somebody has a better spec, they're welcome to correct me. Always the torque wrench. Good. Back it off. Pull your piston stop out. Let's put the air jet in here. This air jet right in here. Up. Blue Loctite. The air jet goes in here. Easy. Ignition coil next. Now this one you can't put down without the wire here. Where is that? Just put the wire in. Put that down. And you also have to do or set the gap here too. Set the gap, get a business card. Bring the magnet over. So it wants to touch, but it can't because there's a business card there. Cinch both your screws down. By hand is best. Back it off, pull the business card out, your gap is set. New shroud. Attach all the wires appropriately. Greenish bluish wire, whatever this is here, goes to the shorting lead of the coil. Clip both of them there. And you really don't want any slack in this area. Leave all the slack in the carburetor area. Fish the wires on through. You want everything in the flywheel area to be nice and cozy, tight. Very orderly. There, whatever. Okay, that doesn't matter. So now, actually, we can put the starter cover on, but I have an issue with the starter cover, so let's fiddle with that.